She's mute. He's dangerous. An arranged marriage was never part of the plan until it became their only option. She agreed to marry him for her adoptive parents' sake. He agreed to keep his demons in check. He works for the Mafia. She's terrified of men. They're strangers with scars bound by a deal neither of them wanted. But the closer they get, the harder it becomes to stay untouched. Because in a world of blood, fear, and secrets, even silence can burn. Demons. Everyone has their own, and if someone doesn't have any, maybe he is the demon himself. People say that demons are seen in the dark, that one day you might step in the darkness and never return because it would swallow you whole. But how are demons always hungry? How is their hunger satisfied if they can still swallow you despite swallowing 20 others before you? There must be an end to this, because if it is endless, then it needs to end. It might be a little easier for people who can speak, scream, and plead for help. But what about those who are silenced by the demons themselves? All they can do is hide in the same darkness and expect that the demon won't find them. But they do not realize that they have already entered his trap, and when they do, it's already too late. Darkness is not a metaphor for sadness, never has been. It has always been an ally of monsters. "Sienna, why are you not eating, Nina?" her mother asks as a look of concern washes over her face. Sienna snaps out of her trance and only shakes her head in answer before looking down at her untouched plate and putting a forkful of salad in her mouth. Nina is always concerned for her oldest child because Sienna cannot express herself, or maybe she doesn't want to. Nina thinks it's the latter one. Because Sienna doesn't write, she does not keep her secrets buried in a diary, nor does she dare to write about the demons which torments her the whole time. Nina keeps looking at her daughter as Sienna, unaware of her mother's glance on her, keeps eating like a robot. Nina felt a warm and rough hand cover her delicate one. Looking up, she realized that it's her husband. Pavel Romanov looks at his wife, blinking reassuringly as he tries to calm her down. Nina sighs. Dropping her head down, she focuses on her food as well. "Mom, I am going to a party tonight, so don't wait for me at night." Nina's youngest child, Livia, informs her, and another defeated sigh leaves past her lips. Partying till late night and sometimes even early morning is what Livia does. That's her definition of fun, and even though Nina does not want to stop her from having fun, she doesn't want her to waste her whole life as well. Nina's eyes fell on her oldest daughter, lost in her own world, eating like a robot, while her head seemed elsewhere. An idea struck her mind, and her amber eyes, similar to Livia's, instantly brightened up as she leaned forward on the table. "How about you take Sienna along?" Livia's eyes shone with excitement. "Why not? I will also help her get ready." She almost squeals in excitement, but Sienna is not even paying them attention, lost in her own world. She often does this, zones out in another world while her body stays in reality. Livia turns to Sienna. "So what do you say, Si?" she asked. Sienna snapped out of her trance and looked at Livia, startled, raising her eyebrows in question because she did not hear even a word. "I was saying, how about you come with me to the party?" Livia wiggles her eyebrows like a child, eager to do something and asking for permission first. Sienna looked at her sister with an apologetic look, and Livia's face immediately fell like someone denied a 4-year-old her favorite candy. Sienna has never been a party girl. She always stays at home, locked in the 4 walls of her room, willingly only coming out when her mother drags her for some shopping or something equally disinteresting for her. Nina looks at her oldest-born, Sienna. "You haven't gone out in a long time. I think you should go," she probes. Pavel drops his fork in his plate and says with a forced smile to his wife, "Nina Lyubimaya, I don't think we should pressure Sienna into doing something she does not want to do." Nina dismisses him with a wave of her hand. "Oh, come on. We cannot let her waste her whole life between those 4 walls." She told her husband and turned her focus back to Sienna. "I am not taking no for an answer." Nina announces, leaving no room for negotiation. Sienna sighs in defeat because when her mother puts her head to something, not even a miracle can make her change her mind. Even the God himself would let her be, and Sienna is just a mere human. so she will be going to a party tonight with her 18-year-old sister, she guesses. Reluctantly, she nods her head in agreement, just for the sake of formality, and returns to munching on her food as her mother squeals in delight with her youngest daughter. Pavel, on the other hand, spares a sympathetic look towards Sienna, and she only shrugs, accepting that she will have to leave the safety of her room tonight and be in the middle of a crowd where everything will be too noisy and chaotic for her taste. The time passed in a blur after Nina and Livia started talking about random things. It was 8 in the evening when they got up from their tables and decided to depart to their respective rooms. Livia decided to take Sienna to her room to get her ready for the party, which will start at 10, so there are only 2 hours for them to get ready and arrive at the party as well. Livia is over the moon to get her sister ready. She throws the door of her wardrobe open and strides inside while Sienna sits quietly on the bed. Livia returns with at least 10 outfits in her hands and dumps them down on the bed with an exaggerated sigh. Sienna stands up, eyeing the dump of outfits, and then at her little sister as the realization finally dawned upon her. She will be doing almost a fashion show by changing from one outfit into another until Livia finds the perfect outfit for Sienna. Sienna does not want to do it. She neither has the energy nor the will, but the excitement on Livia's face doesn't let her deny. Livia holds up a black shimmering outfit, which looks too short for 5 feet 8 inches tall Sienna. Livia is 3 inches shorter, so the length of outfit quite creates a difference for the two. Sienna looks at the outfit and then glances down at her. Livia understands her hesitation and drops the outfit on the bed before picking up another one. This one is dark blue in color, with thin straps and decent length. Livia smiles brightly at her sister and extends the outfit in her direction. Sienna takes it with a small smile and heads inside the walk-in closet to change. As expected, she repeats the process at least 7 times with 7 different outfits before Livia finally gives her thumbs up with a wide smile. Sienna almost collapsed on the bed in relief when Livia made her sit down on the stool in front of the mirror and started doing her hair. She gives her hair soft curls, letting the mid-length ash-brown hair now fall over her shoulders. Livia waves the makeup brush in the air like a fairy waving a magical wand before she starts doing her older sister's makeup. Livia enhances her lashes with a waterproof mascara, applies eyeliner perfectly at her first try, and praises herself for doing the impossible. She does not stop talking while she applies foundation concealer and blush on her sister's face, while Sienna listens silently, a small smile dancing at her lips as she keeps her eyes closed, feeling Livia's hand doing their magic on her face. "Fucking shit, I am amazing!" Livia curses out loud, staring at Sienna's face in both admiration and disbelief. Sienna opens her eyes and glares at her sister for cursing out too loud, but Livia only shrugs and forces Sienna to look at her reflection in the mirror. Sienna looks at her own reflection in the mirror with her mouth hanging open in surprise. Livia certainly did her magic on her face because Sienna looks a lot different than what she is used to seeing in the mirror. Sienna's lips curl in a beautiful smile, and she gives 2 thumbs up to her sister, and Livia flips her hair in the air, feeling proud of herself. "Now give me 20 minutes, and we will be ready to go." She informs Sienna and rushes inside the walk-in closet with the first thing her hands reached for, and 2 minutes later, she was out of the walk-in closet, dressed in a white, sparkling crop top and black shorts. She spends 5 minutes on her hair, running her fingers through her wavy hair. She lets them fall freely over her shoulders as they reach her back, slightly longer than Sienna's. Livia slips her boots on clumsily and notices that Sienna is already wearing heels which match her outfit. So without wasting any more time, Romanov's sisters slide inside the back seat of the car, and Livia orders the driver to take them to their desired location. "Don't be nervous and enjoy yourself," Livia tells her sister, covering her shaking palm with her own warm one. Sienna stops moving and forces a smile at Livia. The drive takes a total of 17 minutes. Sienna was counting every passing tree, every passing second, until they turned into minutes, and the change in speed to keep her mind occupied so she won't get nervous about going to a party. Once they step out of the car, Sienna feels conscious and pulls at the hem of her dress as if it would miraculously make it look longer. If another girl looked at her from afar, she would think of her as dramatic weirdo and something similar, but no one except her knows about the war which happens within her. This is not the world she belongs to, but she is doing it for her sister, for her mother, who is constantly worried about her. Livia holds Sienna's arm and drags her inside the club. As soon as they enter, the darkness fades away, and the neon light replaces the darkness, creating an illuminating glow at the people inside. Most of the people are busy dancing on the dance floor. Some are kissing, making out like there is no tomorrow, while the rest are busy drowning drinks like on a spree to ruin their livers. Sienna observes her surroundings. Someone bumps into her from behind, and she instantly steps aside as fear rushes through her veins. The man apologizes and heads towards the dance floor, while Sienna keeps her eyes focused on his back, as if expecting him to turn around and give her an evil smirk, which will send a shiver down. But he does no such thing as the crowd swallows him and she finally sighs in relief. Livia's friends have walked over to them, 3 boys who do not look older than 20 or 21, and 2 girls who look the same age as Livia. Sienna knows one of them because she often visits Livia in the house. They talk in each other's ear to be heard over the loud music, and the next moment they were dragging her to the dance floor. Don't hold yourself back. Get a drink and dance your heart out, were the words Sienna heard from her sister before Livia and her friends disappeared into the crowd, leaving Sienna alone behind. The crowd starts forming around her, and her eyes search for her younger sister, but she is nowhere to find. Then again, she cannot disturb her. How can she even expect her to stay by her side the entire time? Sienna shakes her head and thinks that it might be a good time to practice staying around people without feeling like every man in this room is here to harm her. Slowly, she walks up to the bar and points at the orange juice in the menu. The bartender nods and returns with her order a few minutes later. Sienna keeps her hand in her lap and takes the glass from the bartender with an anxious smile, hyper-aware of her surroundings, as uneasiness starts to crawl inside her. After a few minutes, she felt a pair of eyes on her, turned around, and tried to locate the person whose intense eyes were focused on her, but she found no one amidst the crowd. Forcing herself to stop overthinking, she takes sips of orange juice and keeps looking at people dancing on the dance floor to keep her head off this eerie feeling. But despite everything, the feeling stays, and her nervousness grows when her doubts are confirmed. Someone was indeed watching her from the darkness. Vittorio Moretti. I watch her from afar. A woman who looks in her early 20s wearing a peach-shimmering one-piece outfit with thin straps which ends just above her knees. The way her soft curls frame her face is ethereal. I don't think I have ever witnessed something as alluring and captivating. It's not her face, nor the way the outfit hugs her in all the right places, like she was rewarded by God Himself with extraordinary beauty. It's the way her curious eyes, filled with a mix of fear and wariness, look around, observing everything, and if possible, trying to search for the threat amidst this crowd. At one point, she feels my gaze boring into the side of her face, and slowly, very slowly, she turns around in my direction. I do not look away or make a move to hide. In fact, I look at her face without any barrier between us. Her gaze goes from one face to another, trying to find out who is looking at her, but she never sees me because of the darkness which surrounds me. I push my hands inside the pocket of my pants and look at her until she shakes the feeling of paranoia and focuses on her orange juice instead. I am not quite sure if it's the fear on her face or the way she appears afraid of almost everything, like the world is out to destroy her, snatch everything of her from her, but it awakens a side in me I didn't realize I had even left. A nerve in my body itches to go over to her stand in front of her so she cannot look around and only focus on me completely, forgetting about the world around her, which seems to have scared her enough for eternity. But before these absurd thoughts could go deeper in my head, reluctantly, I turned around, sparing one last glance to the woman over my shoulder before walking out of that club. I take my phone out, dial the number of my boss, and press the mobile phone against my ear, waiting as it rings thrice before he finally answers the call with a question. "What is it?" Lorenzo, my boss, barked from the other side of the phone. "What got you in a sour mood?" I inquired with a raised eyebrow as one hand rests in the pocket of my pants. The sound of him releasing a deep breath reached my ears before he answered. "People" is his classic answer. I roll my eyes. "Are you seeing yourself in the mirror right now because that would justify your mood?" I joked, a hint of smirk dancing at my lips. "Did you call to test my patience, or have you suddenly turned suicidal?" He questions me with a warning in his tone. I let the corner of my lips tug in a small smile at the small achievement of getting under his nerves. "It isn't much work anyways, all you have to do is exist in breath. I called to let you know that I have handled the situation in Russia, and I am returning tomorrow afternoon." "And how exactly did you handle it?" He questions with a hint of suspicion in his voice. When I found no taxi in sight, I decided to take a stroll to my hotel, which is nearby, enjoying the fresh air of Russia with my boss on the phone. An empty can came in my way, and I kicked it with enough force to send it flying towards the other side of the road. Before answering him, I blew up the whole warehouse. I shrugged. Jesus Christ. Vittorio. I can imagine him rubbing his temple with his 2 fingers as he paces the length of the room twice and then barks. You cannot go around killing every person who caused you inconvenience. I frown, my eyebrows pinches together, and confusion washes over my face. Why not, I ask. Because if everyone dies, who are we going to do business with? He tries to make me understand like a child. But that's the thing, I am not a child. I am a grown-up man, a man who failed to protect the woman who looked up to him like he was her only hope. But he failed her too. I am not in this game for business. I don't give 2 shits about business. I am here because I can finally let my demons out, let my inner beast play with the blood of people who annoys me. I don't care if my satisfaction, salvation, and satiation makes half of the world vanish or even full. I am not stopping until I find the peace I have been searching for since a long time. I cannot. Why do you want to do business? Don't you have enough money already? I probed. Why do you work for me when your father is a fucking billionaire? He retorted, his voice laced with sarcasm. And I understand his point, but really not at the same point. I am working for him because killing people, watching the blood slowly leave their body until their eyes become lifeless, gives me a sense of satisfaction, even if it is short-lived. Some might think I am twisted in the head, deranged, but that's who I am. And no matter how much Lorenzo complains about the way I handle things, he accepts me as who I am. He does not look over my twisted parts, pretending they don't exist. He accepts it, acknowledges my flecks and flaws, and then endorses me as who I am. I just saw an ice cream parlor. I think I am going to get myself an ice cream, I say through the phone, and do not wait for him to respond as I hang up the call and slip it back in the pocket of my jeans. Ordering myself a strawberry flavor, I take my cone and head back to my hotel. The ice cream finished just when I reached the entrance of the hotel, and I dumped the napkin in the trash can before entering the hotel and heading straight to my booked room. After laying down on the bed, the exhaustion from the day returns in my body, and sleep washes over me. See? The loud blaring of my phone wakes me up early in the morning, earlier than necessary. Groaning, I reached for my phone in a half-asleep state and answered the call, pressing it against my ear as my boss's voice greeted me. "Good morning, sunshine." He sounds creepily sweet for a man who rarely speaks in a decent tone. Suspicion awakens in me, and all the remnants of sleep washes away from my eyes as I sit straight on my bed. What is it? I questioned him suspiciously. "Remember the Romanovs?" he says, and I think a little before the memories finally clicks. "Yeah, what about them?" Well, he stretches. They are ready to make an alliance. He informs me and I frown. not sure what it has anything to do with me. Good for you, I guess, I shrug. Wouldn't you ask what sort of alliance you are going to tell me anyway? I roll my eyes. This is too early for this conversation. I want to sleep. They have offered a marriage alliance to expand their business and ours as well. Lorenzo informs me, and it finally makes sense. Now I know why he would call me early in the morning to inform me about this. I lay down, pull the blanket up to my chin, and enjoy the warmth of it. I am not marrying anyone. I announce and pull the phone back from my ear to end the call when he speaks. I am not asking Vittorio. Well, you should. I pause, cover my face with the blanket as well, and then continue. I am not your daughter, whom you can sell to any rich business for some pennies. Don't you want money as well? He asks, and I hear the smile in his voice. I clutch the blanket close to my chest and say, "You just said on the previous call that my father is a billionaire," I reminded him. "They are offering $200 million investment for our explosives," Lorenzo informs with an evil smirk, audible in his smug tone. I sigh. Where do I need to be sold? Lorenzo laughs. My father might be a billionaire, but it never hurts to have a little more money. Moreover, it's not like I am looking forward to getting married to anyone. I am certain no woman would be ready to get married to a man like me who returns with blood on his hands every night, so might as well get settled now when the chance is being served to me on a silver platter. I ended the call after he told me that he would text me the address name and other necessary information about the Romanovs. Placing the phone back at its previous place, I closed my eyes and drifted into deep slumber. The Romanovs can wait. The Romanovs couldn't wait. Hence, Lorenzo had to blare my phone up with his annoying calls every 20 seconds until I finally got out of bed and changed into a formal attire after taking a quick shower to meet the Romanovs. The man at the entrance, dressed in all black bows in front of me, before guiding me inside the bungalow where Pavel Romanov, one of the greatest businessmen of Russia, is waiting for me. Upon noticing me, he stands up from his seat, out of courtesy, extends his hand in my direction for a handshake, and I accept it. "Please sit down, Mr. Moretti," he says, gesturing towards the couch right behind me. I take the seat with a nod. I am here for formality. The business is already discussed with Lorenzo. Even though they are ready to invest $200 million, Lorenzo wants the Italians and the Russians to have a personal relationship. That's what he has said. But the truth is that he wants to make sure that he has something to hold over Pavel's head if things go wrong in future. This is how we do business. "What do you do for Mr. Russo?" Pavel asks like a typical father referring to Lorenzo Russo, my boss. "I am second in command after him," I answered him. Pavel nods, appearing impressed. He opens his mouth to say something or ask his next question, but something behind me must have caught his eyes, which makes him pause. Look behind me as a small smile curls onto his lips, contrasting with the business at hand. "Sienna," he calls, pausing for a brief second. "Come here, Malaya," he called out, his voice tinged with affection. Slowly, as curiosity arises within me, I shift in my seat and glance over my shoulder to look at the woman who interrupted our conversation. The moment my gaze lands on her, my breath catches in my throat. The woman who stands in front of me is none other but the one whose beauty captivated me, and whose fear and wariness spoke volumes, awakening a protective instinct within me. She is Pavel Romanov's daughter. Third person. Sienna did not mean to disturb her father in the middle of a meeting when she decided to spend some time with her father because it's been too long since she has done that. But it was already too late to step back when her father noticed her, called her name with a tinge of affection, and made her the center of a stranger's attention. The man who is staring at her like he has never seen a female species before. Sienna hates this kind of attention. She hates attention, period. Hesitantly, she heads towards her father, avoiding looking at the man who is only a stranger to her. Taking the seat next to her father, she rests her hands in her lap, looks down in her lap, hoping to be ignored by both of them and continue wherever they left off before her. But Pavel did something exactly opposite. He introduced her to the stranger. "This is my oldest daughter, Sienna." Lifting her head up, Sienna forced a smile on her face and nodded at him in greeting. But he made no move to accept her greeting. Instead, he just kept staring at her like he was seeing her for the first time, like he has never seen a woman at all in his whole life. "This is Mr. Moretti," her father said, introducing the stranger, but Sienna did not care. She only wanted to leave the place and stay between the confines of the four walls of her room. But how can she get up in the middle of introduction? It would be disrespectful not only to the stranger, but her father as well. So she forces herself to sit focusing on her toenails as the conversation continues between the two. "So why are you in for this proposal?" Pavel asked. Sienna realized that she needs to paint her toenails because the soft color is already fading away. The man introduced to her as Mr. Moretti sighed, taking his eyes off her when he answered Mr. Romanoff. He began, and after a brief pause, he added, "This proposal aligns with some—" He trailed off, searching for the right words. "Mutual benefits. Moreover, I was looking forward to settling down." He finished calmly, but something about the way he spoke did not settle well with Sienna. Slowly, she lifted her head up, dared to look at the stranger who sat right in front of her, and stole another quick glance at his face. What proposal are they talking about? What does it have anything to do with the man settling down? Why is he discussing such issues with her father? Such questions swirled through her head, but she couldn't say anything except listening to the entire conversation, forgetting about her toenail. Her father nodded approvingly, as if satisfied with the stranger's answer, before he said, "Very well. Sienna is a dutiful girl." He said, beaming at her, "I hope you will take good care of my daughter." Upon his words, Sienna's head snapped in her father's direction, eyes wide in surprise, and lips parting slightly as if she wanted to say something, but except air, no words came out. How can you even think of fixing her marriage without discussing it with her?" before Nina yelled at her husband, while Sienna sat silently at the edge of the bed, blaming herself for the argument which her parents are having right now. But when Sienna realized that her father was discussing her marriage, she had to tell him that she cannot marry anyone. She doesn't want to. Pavel rubbed his temple with his fingers. "It is not fixed yet. I was just discussing. Even Pavel himself knows that it is a lie. But when the Italians threatened to take him, which will most probably end up with him dead, he had to make sure that he stays alive for his family. Moreover, arranged marriage is not a bad thing. He himself had an arranged marriage with Nina, so he does not understand what's the issue here." Nina huffed out a breath in annoyance. "You should have discussed it with our daughter first. She tries to make him understand." Pavel sighs. Looks at his oldest daughter, who sits silently at the bed. "Sienna Malaya, can we talk about it in my study room?" He asks, his voice soft and considerate, and he regards his daughter with a calm look. Sienna looks at her mother once before nodding at her father in answer. Just as she gets up to move, her mother says, stopping her midway, "What is it that you cannot talk about in front of me?" "I want to have a conversation with my daughter. Is it too much to ask for?" Pavel asks his wife. The look on his face tells how tired of this conversation he already is. Nina rolls her eyes, not wanting to drag it any further. She storms out of the room. "Let's go, Malaya," her father said with a gentle smile, and she walked towards the study room with her father right beside her. Life was not always fair to Sienna, but it became better for her because of her parents. She learned to smile and laugh again with her parents. One cannot even start to imagine the amount of love and respect she holds in her heart for her parents. All they have to do is say the words, and she would do every possible thing to make it happen, only if she knew that she would have to prove the words now. Her father pushed the door of his study room open and gestured for her to enter first. Sienna obeyed with a nod as her father left the door open behind him, because she grows anxious when in a room with someone. Or that's what she has told everyone, because she only grows uneasy in the company of a man, and no matter how much she trusts her father, there are certain things which never heals. Her trauma might be one of them. "Malaya, I want to talk to you about Mr. Moretti," Pavel starts in a gentle tone. Sienna keeps her hands in her lap as she encourages her father to continue with a nod. Pavel sighs, pulls a chair, and sits in front of Sienna. She can feel the tension radiating off her father's body, and it only adds more to her anxiousness. What is going on? Why does her father, who always looks like a rock ready to face everything thrown his way, look defeated all of a sudden? She wondered. "Mr. Moretti is the second in command of Mr. Lorenzo Ace Russo," he says, and Sienna's brows pinches together in confusion as she waits for her father to explain more, because she has no idea who Lorenzo Ace Russo is. Her father rests his elbows on his knees as he leans forward. Lorenzo Ace Russo is the Don of Italy. He clarifies, and Sienna's eyes widens as shock takes over her face. Sienna had hundreds of questions running through her head, and just as she was going to ask them, her father continued as if reading her mind. "I know you must be wondering, how do I know the Don of Italy? The thing is, Malaya, that I have started a branch of our restaurants in Italy too, without their permission. Now, I either need to pay them or they will kill me." The words send an uneasy feeling inside her. Sienna loves her father, and she meant it when she said that she will do anything to keep him happy. Now that the question is about his life, there is no hesitancy at all. No matter how uneasy that stranger makes her feel, if marrying him is what will keep his father safe, then she is more than ready to do it. "I do not want you to face the consequences of my actions, but I have talked to Mr. Moretti, and I think he is a good person, even if he does not look like it." He tries to assure her, and for the first time in her life, she does not agree with her father. Just by a glance, she can say that there is much more to him than he lets on. There is something dark, dangerous, and sinister lurking beneath the surface, but her father does not need to do that. If he believes that Mr. Moretti is a good man, then she will let him think so as long as she can. Taking a deep breath, she lifts her head up and forces the corner of her lips to tug upwards in a small smile as she signs, "I will do it." Pavel's eyebrows shot to his hairline in shock. "You what?" Sienna signs again, "I will marry Mr. Moretti."
Dear.
"I can't believe it." Nina throws her head in disbelief. "How did you convince her to get married to a fucking stranger?" she yells. Sienna stands silently on the couch, her fingers laced together and eyes focused on her interlaced hands. Livia is standing right by her side, both her mother and daughter, as ready to announce a war for Sienna, and even though she has told them that it's her own decision, they refuse to believe that Pavel did not manipulate her into marrying an Italian stranger she hardly knows. What's the issue here? She is ready to marry Mr. Moretti willingly. He emphasizes the last word because Sienna has told him to not unveil the truth, because if it comes to surface, she is certain that they would never let her do it, and she needs to do it for her family. Growing tired of the constant argument between her father, mother, and younger sister, she stands up on her feet and taps on her sister's shoulder, asking her sister to get everyone's attention. "Guys, Sai wants to say something," Livia announces, and it is enough for her to get everyone's attention. Sienna looks at her mother when she signs, "Mom, I know you are worried for me, but there is nothing to be worried about. Dad has not manipulated or forced me to do anything against my will. You and Dad's marriage was arranged too." Right, Nina's lips press in a thin line and she nods, letting Sienna continue. "I trust Dad's choice. Moreover, I have met Mr. Moretti. I think he is a good person." She lies. She hardly stole a glance at his face, let alone words, to know how much of a good person he is. But if the man of Don looks so scary, how scary would the Don himself be? Sienna can't take risks. She needs to ensure her family's safety, like they have done for her for so long. Nina sighs, realizing that she can't change her daughter's mind. Now she gives up. "If that's what you want, then I am happy for you." Sienna nods with a smile, thinking that everything is sorted now, but her mother's next sentence made her wonder if it was a warning for what awaited her. "I just hope that you don't regret your decision later." With that said, she turned around and walked right past Sienna, heading back to her room, leaving Sienna behind to grapple with the weight of her words. Vittorio Moretti. When I saw Sienna Romanov for the first time, I only saw her as a woman, lost amidst the crowd of wild people looking around her like a lost and scared lamb. but she still managed to stand out, like always meant to be a little different than the rest of the people. Or maybe it has something to do with my deranged brain, which found her a lot more interesting than the rest of the female population. I still remember the unusual protective feeling she arose within me just by a mere sight alone. But I thought that it ended right where it started, not knowing that destiny had a completely different plan for us. Looking at her again in her father's mansion, looking comparatively calmer and at ease, but there was this look in her eyes like she carries her demons along with her. Something similar to what I see when I stare at my reflection in the mirror, which makes me wonder if she is like me too, fighting her demons, but in a way completely opposite to mine. My thoughts are put to a halt when my phone rings subconsciously. I reach for it at the side table of the bed. The caller ID flashes the name of Lorenzo, my boss, and I answer it on the third ring. "I am starting to think you are obsessed with me," I say before he can get any words out. This is the 7th call in the last 2 days. I can imagine him rolling his eyes on the other side of the phone as he mutters, "You wish?" I click my tongue in disagreement. I don't swing that way. "That's Lorenzo Ace Russo you are talking about." He starts, and with a hint of narcissism in his tone, he says, "People are circling trying to swing my way, and you think I'm the one obsessed." Narcissism drips from the fucker's voice, but I choose to ignore it. There is someone else occupying my head right now. "What did you call for?" I questioned, coming straight to the point. "Pavel called." He starts, and for the first time I feel a flicker of impatience and anxiousness within me to know what he called for. He said that his daughter agreed for the marriage, and we can get your wedding done according to our convenience. I tuned him out after he said that Romanov's daughter agreed for marriage, because it is quite hard to believe considering the woman looked at me like she was looking for the first opportunity to run away. "Are you sure?" I asked, just to be certain. There is a pause from his side for brief seconds before he answers. "Are you trying to say that I hear less? Do you think I'm fucking deaf?" "Oh, for fuck's sake, here we go." I pull the mobile phone away from my ear and end the call, switching it off immediately, because I am certain he would be bombarding my phone with his constant calls, because how dare I hang up on our ruthless boss, who sometimes acts like a woman on period? I guess she really said yes. Something must be wrong with her pretty little head to say yes to getting married to me. But she is stuck with me now. She is not allowed to take her words back. I won't let her. "I have just landed in Russia," Lorenzo informs me as I exit my hotel room, making sure to lock the door behind me. "When are you coming to pick me up?" he asks. "I am certain you can manage it on your own," I tell him, nodding at the doorman who bows in front of me. Tonight, Mr. Pavel Romanov is throwing a huge party to announce the wedding of his oldest daughter, and of course Lorenzo is invited. But I have much more important things to do than babysit a grown fucker. The sound of beeping reached me, and I realized that he hung up the call. Relieved, I pushed the mobile phone in the pocket of my jeans and slid inside the cab, which was already waiting for me. After a drive of 15 minutes, the driver drops me at my desired destination. I pay him through a card before making my way inside the showroom. The showroom is quite huge, and I believe I can find whatever I have in mind for tonight's party. It takes me some time, but after trying different outfits for 20 minutes, I finally found the right one. I stand in front of the mirror, adjusting the black tuxedo that hugs my frame perfectly. The fabric is smooth, every line crisp, the bow tie snug at my throat. Looking at my reflection in the mirror, I feel strong and look presentable enough. The suit fits me perfectly, so I do not waste more time as I pay for the outfit and leave the showroom to head back to my hotel. I glanced at my wristwatch and realized that there are only 4 hours left before the party starts. 4 hours before I see her again. I wonder how she will look. "I can't believe you went for shopping to attend a fucking party!" Lorenzo snorts in disbelief as he stands in front of the mirror in my room adjusting his suit. I roll my eyes and push him aside with my shoulder to stand in front of the mirror. "It's my wedding announcement party," I tell him, adjusting the bow tie around my neck. The suit looks perfect, and so do I. Lorenzo pushes me aside, so I push him back so I can shop as much as I want. I retorted, setting my hair in a way that would give me the look of a gentleman. You do not want to look like a fucking murderer in front of your in-laws. I raise an eyebrow at him through the mirror. By the way, why did you come alone? Where is everyone else? He shrugs. They will come for the wedding. There are much more important things than your wedding announcement party. I let the corner of my lips tug upward in a small smirk. You are jealous. You wish. Lorenzo rolls his eyes, and sparing one last glance at his reflection in the mirror, he walks out of my room. I joined him outside the hotel soon after. A car was already waiting for us, and Lorenzo was sitting inside the car, arms crossed over his chest and eyes focused ahead with a frown. I slide inside the car without wasting another minute. The driver put the key in the ignition, and then we were driving towards the venue. I watched as the trees, cars, and poles passed by us, bringing us closer and closer to our destination. God knows what the fuck is wrong with my wiring, because suddenly I feel a surge of excitement was over me. A few minutes, and then I will be seeing her again. The woman who hasn't spoken a word to me yet, and still managed to have me under her spell. Wait, does she know dark magic? Because how else do I explain my unusual interest in her? It's not like she is the first woman I'm seeing in my life. I am 30 years old and have met enough women, but never have I ever felt like this. There must be something in the way she looks not at me, but every human being in specific. Like they are out to hunt her. Like the moment she will let her guards down, someone will pull her into a dark abyss without anyone noticing. I don't know why it ignites a fire in me, a strange urge to protect her, to ensure she feels safe and protected. For fuck's sake, where does this protective instinct goes when I murder people in cold blood? We're here, sir. The driver informs, bringing the car to a smooth pause, bringing me out of my thoughts. I get out first, and then Lorenzo, Mr. Romanoff, is already waiting for us at the entrance. A small smile on his lips as he shakes our hand, extending a flower bouquet in our direction. He says, "I am glad that you could make it." His words are directed at Lorenzo, so I wait patiently until they are done with the formalities. "It's good to have you, Mr. Moretti," he says with a small smile, and I am pretty sure by the looks on his face that he does not mean it. But I don't care. I don't care what he thinks or believes. What I know is that his daughter has agreed to get married to me, and no matter what happens, I will be taking her with me. Because from the moment she said yes, she became mine. She just does not know it yet. The venue was quite huge, and the decoration is only done in 2 colors, pink and white. The white and pink roses look delicate, so fragile and soft, that it feels illegal to be here. The golden chandeliers hanging above my head gives a feeling like I have just walked into a royal gathering. Didn't they want a little extra for an announcement party? "Mr. Moretti." A gentle feminine voice reached my ears from behind, and I turned around, facing a woman who looked not older than 20. She is wearing wait, who cares what she is wearing? Yes, I nod. "I am Livia." She introduces herself, extending a hand in my direction as a bright smile curls onto her lips. I glance at her extended hand, and then back at her face as my brows pinches together in confusion. Am I suffering from memory loss? Because who the fuck is she? Noticing my confusion, she clarifies I am Sienna's sister. Oh, I voice out my inner thoughts because I am not certain how I am supposed to react to her introduction. "Hey, how are you doing?" Sounds too formal and friendly at the same time. I am seeing the girl for the first time. She does not seem offended by my reaction or the lack of it. "The other Romanoff sister," she adds. The smile does not waver from her face. "Is there something I can help you with?" I raise an eyebrow at her in question. Livia shrugs, a playful smirk dancing on her lips. "Nah, I am just nosy," she says, crossing her arms over her chest. She continues in a comparatively serious tone. "Besides, you are about to marry my sister. Figured I should see what the fuss is all about." A waiter stops in front of us with 2 glasses of wine. Livia declines politely, but I take one. "So figured," I question. She leans forward on the table. "You are handsome," she states, her eyes focusing on my face before she lets her gaze trail from my face to my legs, and then states, tall, brooding, and like a dream of every woman. She states with a playful smile, "But," she says, and I wait because I'd already sensed it. Don't you look a little murderous for marrying an angel like my sister? I let a smirk tug at my lips as I leaned forward. Shouldn't you be afraid of calling me murderer then? She looks up at me. The smile fades away from her face as I add, what if I get offended and end up making you my next prey? She stares at me for a quick second before the playful smirk returns on her lips. I am not scared of you. I won't hesitate from making you suffer either if you think of hurting my sister. The threat sounds almost cute considering she can hardly reach my shoulder as I struggle to hold back a smile. She might not speak, but she feels. So don't you dare overlook her feelings just because she cannot voice her feelings out. She warns, but I am not really listening. All I am thinking about is what she said. She might not speak why. My brows pinches together in confusion as I ask her, why can she not voice out her feelings? Livia observes me with a sharp look, her brows drawn together, and she looks at me like I just stole her favorite dress. Are you making fun of my sister? I roll my eyes. I am asking a question. There's a difference. Livia observes me for a quick second, and once she is convinced that I am not making fun of her sister, she answers simply like it's obvious because she is mute. Sienna Romanoff is a mute. Third person. You look gorgeous, sweetie, Nina said, her eyes shining with adoration as she kissed the side of her head. She is wearing a dress that seems to be woven with starlight. Its white and pearlescent fabric falls with ethereal grace, covered in a subtle grace that simulates a night sky full of sparkles. The dress hugs her frame elegantly, with thin straps adorned with pearls that frame the heart-shaped neckline. The open back adds a touch of mystery and anxiety, while the skirt flows like a river of liquid silver gliding with every movement. Sienna agrees with her mother, and that's what makes her anxious. All eyes are on her. Everyone's gaze is lingering on her openly, some with admiration and some with desire, and she is left to deal with the anxiety swirling in her chest. Holy shit, you look like you are on a mission of wiping out half of the male population with your beauty. Livia exaggerated, smiling widely. Sienna shakes her head incredulously at Livia's words. One can always trust Livia to say the most absurd things. Ignoring the ball of anxiety forming in her chest, she looked up, allowing her gaze to wander around, observing the decoration for the party. The flowers, lights, and color patterns, everything is perfect. She didn't get much time to herself when her father headed towards her with two men, tall, muscular, and scary, yet sophisticated, one of them being the one she is going to get tied to for the sake of her family. When she dared to glance his way, their eyes met, because he was already looking at her. Sienna swallowed at the intensity of his stare. He gawks at her openly and shamelessly. The air shifted the moment their eyes met, like the hush before a storm, like the crackling silence that precedes lightning. Vittorio Moretti did not just look at Sienna. He devoured her with his gaze, eyes dark and unreadable, heavy with a strange blend of calculation and something more primal. His jaw twitched almost as if he wasn't expecting her to look back, but she did. She held his gaze for a moment longer than she meant to, before the burn in her cheeks forced her to turn away. God! Her mouth was dry, and her spine was too straight. She was standing like she had a ruler taped to her back. Perfect posture, perfect silence, perfect daughter, perfect sacrifice. Nina squeezed her arm gently. It's okay, sweetie. Just tell when it gets too much. It is too much. She wanted to tell her mother, but swallowed the words and nodded her head in response. This is Don Lorenzo Pavel, introduced like the man who looks like he defines danger is just another family friend. And this is Mr. Vittorio Moretti. He introduced, gesturing to the man who was still looking at Sienna like he was watching the seventh wonder of the world. Sienna's mouth dried and she clenched the fabric of her outfit to anchor her trembling hands. But just on cue, Vittorio's gaze dropped to her hands. His eyes narrowed before he brought his focus back to her face. He didn't say anything. This arrangement feels a lot like trade. As much as Sienna wants nothing to do with her supposed fiancé, she knows she should at least have one conversation with him for her own sake, to understand where she stands in the relationship after the marriage. Livia seems to understand her sister's feelings because she said, "Give the couple some privacy. I haven't seen them exchange even a word so far." Before walking away, she squeezed Sienna's shoulder gently and gave her an assuring smile. Once everyone was gone, Vittorio stepped closer and Sienna's mouth dried as a nervous feeling made home inside her. What should she say? How should she converse with him? "You can use your phone to talk to me," he replied as if reading her thoughts. Her eyes widened in shock. Is he a psychic? But she doesn't have her phone with her right now. She almost lifted her hands up to sign, but realized that he might not know sign language. "Here, use mine." He offered his phone, extending it towards her. Sienna lifted her gaze, looking at him through her lashes before she hesitantly took his mobile phone. He had already unlocked his phone and the Notes app was open too. She bit her bottom lip, thinking what to ask him. There are 1,000 questions she could be asking her future fiancé in normal circumstances, but there is nothing normal about this. Sienna stared at the phone in her hand like it was a foreign object. It was heavy. Not in the weight, but in implication. A bridge between two strangers both unaware about how to cross or meet halfway. Vittorio didn't look away from her. He couldn't. Not because he wanted to make her uncomfortable, but because he couldn't help but observe her. Like if he stared hard enough, he'd hear the words she couldn't say. He slipped his hands into his pockets, shoulders relaxed, as he tried to ignore the weird flutter in his stomach. Then he tilted his head slightly and asked, his voice smooth like whiskey over ice. "What's your favorite color?" Sienna blinked. That was not the question she'd expected. Not "what are your thoughts on this marriage?" or "do you want to run for your life while you still can?" or "why are you shaking like a leaf?" No, "what's your favorite color?" is what he came up with. Sienna lowered her gaze to the phone. Her fingers hovered the keyboard, trembling a little as she typed one word. "Lilac." Vittorio leaned in a little to read Sienna swallowed, resisting the urge to take a step back. She shouldn't show her fear openly to a man who would get enough opportunities to use it against her. He frowned. "That's a color want." Sienna was offended, but she didn't show it. How can someone not know about colors, a color as soft and smooth as lilac? Lowering her gaze to the phone, she typed a response. "Yes, it's a color, a lighter, softer shade of purple, soft and quiet." She hesitated, doubting whether she should have explained so much, but Vittorio was already reading the text, leaning closer. His brows lifted with faint surprise, and Sienna's heart thumped against her chest, wondering if she offended him. But then his lips curved into the ghost of what resembled a smile. "I like that," he said quietly. Quiet. An awkward silence fell between them. Not on Vittorio's part, though he enjoyed looking at her, observing her, and trying to understand her reactions to certain things or situations. Sienna, on the other hand, let her gaze wander around, looking for her sister or mother, so she could get away from him. Not because he made her nervous or uncomfortable, but because there was a limit to the extent she could socialize while constantly feeling nervous and anxious. "You're looking for someone." Vittorio observed his voice low and steady. Sienna's fingers curled tighter around the phone in her hand. Her first instinct was to apologize for being distracted, but instead she simply nodded, her gaze flickering back to him. "I don't mean to be difficult or ungrateful. I know this is important." She paused, her lips pressed together before she added, "I am sorry." His frown deepened, a shadow crossing his sharp features. But it wasn't frustration, just something close to curiosity. Vittorio raked a hand through his dark hair, sighing. "You don't have to apologize for breathing." His gaze roamed over her face, lingering on her parted lips, the tense lines of her shoulders, her trembling hands that still clutched his phone like lifelines, like he was wishing her to leave her hand imprints on the phone. Her gaze followed his line of vision, and she realized that she was clutching the phone in a deadly grip. If she applied any more pressure, the object might break. He must be worried about his phone. Loosening her grip, she handed it back to him hurriedly. Vittorio took it with a frown etched onto her features. Their fingers brushed for a brief moment, and though Sienna pulled her hand back immediately, Vittorio had wished he could feel her warmth a little longer. He looked up at her in confusion, but she only pointed at something or someone behind him over his shoulder. Vittorio glanced behind and found Livia standing with a man sipping on her drink. Vittorio understood the words which were never conveyed and rolled the phone in his hands, reluctant to walk away from her. But respecting her choice, he took a step back. "I'll leave you be for tonight," he said, voice low, steady. "But next time I'd like to hear about your favorite flower, too." Before she could react, he turned walking away into the sea of glittering guests and sharp suits, his presence lingering long after he disappeared into the crowd. Sienna's shoulders sagged, her chest expanding with a shaky breath she didn't realize she was holding. Without wasting another second so no one could walk up to her and start small talk, she walked over towards her sister. "You walking, talking, brainless sack of goat shit. How the actual fuck do you function on a daily basis without accidentally setting yourself on fire?" Sienna gasped at her foul vocabulary directed at the man who looks like he is seconds away from strangling her. "Do you always speak before consulting the single lonely brain cell rolling around in your skull?" He responded with calmness, yet the heat radiating off him conveys the anger loud enough. Livia glared at the man, grounding her teeth. She opened her mouth to start the train of curse when Sienna interrupted them by tapping on Livia's shoulder. Because Sienna would like her sister to live a little longer. Livia paused and turned around, her eyebrows pinched together in worry at her sister's sigh. "Everything okay? Are you okay? Do you need anything?" Sienna only nodded in answer to calm her concerned sister. Yet Livia grabbed a glass of water from the waiter's tray and forwarded it towards her sister. Sienna gulped the cold water to soothe her dry throat. "So, what do you think?" "Still want to go along with this silly alliance?" Livia asked, hoping that her sister would back out from this alliance. Sienna is soft, quiet, and warm, and Vittorio is everything opposite. Livia saw it at first glance. Vittorio would break her like a delicate thread when his control would snap. Sienna had no choice. Only if Livia knew that it was not the will which was making Sienna jump in the dark hole with no escape plan, but the desperate need to save her family and pay back the people who gave her a better life. If it was not for them, she might have been rotting in those dark corners, or worse, dead. This is her new life. They gave it to her, and she owes this one to them. Sighing, Sienna looked at her sister, forced a smile to look convincing when she signed, "I am ready for this marriage." Lie. But this is what love looks like when it's stitched together with debt and survival.